We'll hand things off to Peter to begin. So welcome, Peter. Thanks for joining us.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Alex. And thank you to everyone that joined us this evening. This is a fun opportunity. We're always excited to work with Jubilee TV, a fantastic product, and to partner with them on this and to hopefully provide some good fire safety tips to you guys for your loved ones. And that's what we're all about. And it'll be a good evening. So, as Alex said, we were on Shark Tank. It was a super fun experience. If anyone has questions about Shark Tank and not about fire prevention, that's okay too. We ended up doing a deal on the show with Lori, and it was a really good experience. So, um, as Alex said, I'm going to put this on here just for fun. I've been a career firefighter for 19 years and absolutely love the job. Been on a ladder company, engine company, paramedic on the ambulance there. But my grandfather was a firefighter, and I'm happy to say I kind of followed my childhood dream. When I was young in school, I always told people that I want to be a firefighter. And the power of thought just kept saying enough that after high school and some college, I went to the fire academy and never looked back and just loved being a firefighter. So I've been doing that for 19 years now and loved it. So hat there. But anyways, on to the presentation. When I was a rookie firefighter, I started realizing that every shift at the firehouse, we would go on a cooking fire. It was just something that I could kind of count on. Started realizing that it was one of our more common calls as a firefighter when it came to fires. So we'd get there, we'd get dispatched to smoke in a home. Maybe a neighbor hears the smoke alarm sounding. We'd get there, pop the door, and it was just food left on the stove again and again. So I did a little bit of research, and I started realizing, and this is something they didn't teach me in the fire academy, that the number one cause of home fires, not just in the US, but even in the world, is cooking. So these beautiful stoves that we have in our home, that is the number one cause of home fires in the world. Over 50% of all fires start there in the stove there. Over $1 billion in damage, and it's the number one cause of home fire related injuries or death. So as firefighters, we got pretty good at, we'd get dispatched to somewhere and you start to recognize the smell of smoke, and we could be like, no, this one's not a kitchen fire because of how it smelled, or we smell the smoke like, they left the stove on again. And sometimes the individual would be asleep in the basement. Maybe they had fallen, maybe they'd passed out for whatever reason. But we became just started realizing kitchen fires. We went on a lot of those. So did a little bit of research, started realizing, or here's some facts for you guys. And one of them I forgot to tell you is, believe it or not, every 4.5 minutes, a fire department in the US will respond to a home fire from cooking. So before this webinar is over, there's going to be 10 plus kitchen fires that have started. So, and hopefully it's none of us, we're all safe, we're here. So knock on wood. But the average cost of these kitchen fires on the low end is $3,000, on the higher end $32,000. Of course, it can go higher or lower, but that's kind of the average range there. And then, kind of tailoring this message to our audience here in this webinar is that, as you can imagine, as we start aging in life, the risk of a fire, even death from fire, increases. So at 65 and older, it's almost 2.5 times more likely to have an incident. At 75 and up, it goes to almost three times more. And then at 85, almost 3.5 times more likely to have an incident. So as a firefighter, we see this with people aging in place there, of them forgetting to let their stove on and having an incident. I know my mother-in-law, we had a mother-in-law apartment, and she lived with us for a number of years. And she would one time cooking a grilled cheese sandwich there, and her bedroom was right off the kitchen. And just as she was waiting for it to cook, goes and lays down, fell asleep. She couldn't hear the smoke alarm. We were upstairs, thankfully. So, but she could have had an incident there with a grilled cheese sandwich. So it happens. It happens more often than we realize. I'm sure maybe some of you guys have gone to check on your loved ones and the stove is left on. Maybe there's nothing cooking and the stove is in opposition, or it's a kettle of water just boiling, until the water evaporates. But it's a common theme. I think what we see a lot sometimes, maybe you experience this, is that eventually you unplug their stove and you say, hey, the stove is broken. We'll get it fixed. Why don't we use the microwave or a toaster oven until we can get it fixed? So the question is there actually a way to stop these home fires? So as a firefighter, we had a lot of public education opportunities. We had this big trailer that we'd pull up and at community events and kind of teach people how to prevent kitchen fires and how to stay safe in their homes there. And we had a number of really good practical tips that we share with the community. And so I'll share some of these with you guys tonight on ways that you can help your loved ones stay safe in their home. And so the first one is, it's really easy, is just, and it's even good for like younger people, like busy moms and anybody. But when you start to cook, put an apron on. That kind of helps us remind us that we're cooking, the stove is on, or even carry a wooden spoon. And I always say, hey, put that wooden spoon in your pocket there. If you're cooking, until you're done cooking, keep it there. Again and again, in this day of age, people get distracted on their smartphones, right? Or a neighbor comes to the door, or we're waiting for it to boil and we forget about it pretty easily with the TVs and smartphones. So putting an apron on can really help remind us that we're cooking. Also, timers. If you have just a timer that when they start to cook, they can just put it on for a little bit. It buzzes every 5 minutes, remind them that they're cooking. Another safety tip that we would share with the communities is clearance. This is a big deal that we would see, especially, I don't know what it is about our parents or grandparents aging in place there, but they love to put a lot of times knickknacks around the stove, up top on the burner or the control panel, on the sides there. They have towels hanging, decorations, but we want 3 feet of clearance. The stoves can get over 1,000 degrees in temperature, and that heat radiates. So if it's forgotten about, sometimes the first things that we start to see ignite are knickknacks or objects close to. I've seen toaster ovens start to melt there, and the plastic will drip in, and that will catch fire. So next time you go check on your loved ones there, try to work on getting a good amount of clearance on top of the stove, on the side of the stove there, and that's a good way to keep them safe. And I always say smoke alarms are our first line of defense. So we still recommend that people check their smoke alarms every 6 months. And the NFPA, they recommend a smoke alarm in every bedroom, hallway, and living area. We do not recommend a smoke alarm in the kitchen. It should be at least 15 feet away from any cooking appliance. And we'll talk more about this in a little bit. But testing your smoke alarms every 6 months, that's our first line of defense. Working smoke alarms save lives. And even if you buy one of these new smoke alarms that have a 10-year lithium battery, you still need to test it. That does not mean I'm good for 10 years. It means it should last for 10 years, but we're still going to check it every 6 months. So if you're in a state that you change your clocks for daylight savings, it's a good reminder. So some of the traditional options that you maybe have used right now or have in your homes there are fire extinguishers, which have been around for a long time. Then fire blankets in the last few years have made an appearance, and they're great. Both of these products require a person to be there physically and able to either use a fire extinguisher or throw the blanket over the fire. Fire extinguishers are awesome, and I've seen it more times than not that the person using that fire extinguisher, they panic. And we always say, use the acronym PASS: pull, aim, and squeeze, right? You pull the pin, you aim, and you squeeze the handle, and people panic and they can't pull. They forget to pull the pin, and they just say, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. We've shown up, and they're like, my fire extinguisher didn't work. Well, the pin's still in there. So it's as simple as they are in times of stress and panic, simple training, or just we forget how to use them. So as a young firefighter, I've been on, I think, about 4 years, just loving the job, my career there. We got dispatched to an apartment complex fire. This one was really full, really bad smoke. We masked up, we popped the door, the smoke's overhead, we're crawling underneath. And again, it was just, I think this was beans or eggs left on the stove there. No fire, but a lot of really bad smoke there. Take it out, we air out the apartment, we take care of it. And I'm driving back. I was in charge of driving the fire truck that day, and I'm driving back and I turned to my captain, the right-hand side. And I had this idea. I said, how cool would it be? Or what if the stove could automatically turn itself off when the smoke alarm was sounding? And both of us just kind of turned to each other and we're like, wow. And I kid you not, that night at the firehouse, I couldn't stop thinking about the possibility of a stove automatically turning itself off. And I thought about all the fires we had been on, that if only the stove had turned itself off, how much damage we could have saved, maybe even some lives that could have been saved if that stove turned itself off. So I couldn't stop thinking about this. I told my mother about the idea, and moms are so sweet. She just encouraged me to run with the idea. So I got together people smarter than me, and FireAvert has grown now. And side note, we have around 40 employees now, and I always say the number one rule is anyone that works here has to be smarter than me. So we have a lot of really smart people here. So the first step was I got some engineers that were smarter than me, and we built FireAvert. And what FireAvert is, it's an automatic stove shutoff device. So how it works is it plugs in. I have one right here. I don't know if you can see this well on the camera, but it just plugs in right behind your stove there. It works on 3-prong or 4-prong stoves. And in the event that your stove is on and the smoke alarm is sounding for at least 30 seconds, it automatically just turns off the stove. It says the stove is on. I hear a smoke alarm and it waits for that 30 seconds just in case someone is there. They can turn the stove to the off position or they can fan the smoke away. If they do that, then we don't do anything. But after 30 seconds, if that stove is still on and the smoke alarm is still sounding, we just cut power. And why that is so effective is that everything has a temperature where it starts to smoke and then a temperature that ignites. And so by removing the heat source when it's just smoking, it never reaches that ignition temperature. So we are the first product out there that prevents the fire from ever starting. Some of the commonly questions that people ask about this is does it push my stove out? It's kind of big, it's, a lot of voltage going there. There's a big, is it going to push my stove out? The answer is no. There's a void space where that drawer is, the warming drawer underneath the oven, and it fits perfectly there. Your stove still fits flush against the wall. It never expires. It is UL certified, meaning that a third-party lab has tested it and verified that it's safe and it does what we advertise that it does. I mentioned it never expires. There's no batteries. It's maintenance free. So once you install it, it's just always there protecting your loved ones, your home. With that, this is kind of always a good spot to ask and see if there's any questions. So if anyone has any questions in the chat or raise their hand, they can let us know.
Also, if anyone's having trouble, I see a question came into Q&A, but if you don't see the Q&A box or are having trouble finding the tools at the bottom, because sometimes they can be a little bit sticky, feel free to turn your audio on and you can always ask your question between other folks' questions as well. But I do see two have come in, so I will
Yeah.
ask, I'll read those out for you, Peter, just so you can kind of stay focused on the screen. Question number one comes from Joseph. He wants to know if this will work with gas stoves.
Yes, absolutely. So here's the gas version right here. A little smaller, and then it comes with a gas solenoid there. So you would just turn off the gas quarter turn valve behind the stove, put our solenoid in place, and plug it into the red box here. It works just the same as the electric stove. We also have it on that same topic. We have these not just for a gas stove, electric stove, but microwaves, space heaters that you're worried about, toaster ovens, whatever appliance that you're worried being left on in your home that we work for. Great question.
Awesome. Thank you, Peter. Second question comes in from Nick. How do you turn the stove back on once, presumably once an incident occurs and the stove is turned off using FireAvert?
Great question. It's very simple. We have multiple ways that it can be turned back on. So the first way is our device is very intelligent. It's a smart home fire prevention device. So once the fire alarm has stopped sounding and someone has turned the burners to the off position, we analyze that and say, okay, the stove is off. I don't hear the smoke alarm, and it will automatically turn itself back on because we know there's no longer a threat. We're going to talk about this a little bit more, but you also, the homeowner there or the care provider, so like you can get a text right on your smartphone there saying, hey, the stove is shut off. Is there a problem? You reply no. If you want to turn the stove back on, you can reply yes. And just via your smartphone, you can turn it back on as well. And then finally, there's a QR sticker on the stove there. You can scan that and turn it back on. So multiple ways to turn it back on, but all very easy and doable. Great question.
Awesome. Thank you again, Peter. It looks like that is the second and only question that's come in currently. So again, if anyone else had an issue using the Q&A box and you want to jump in now, I'll just give it another 10 or 15 seconds of me stalling for you to jump in. And if not, we'll continue moving on with the slides. And then, of course, you can always ask a question in the chat at any point. We'll see that, we'll call it out, and then you can also ask a question again at the end. It looks like someone did take advantage of my stalling, so this is excellent. Joseph has a follow-up question. With the attachment for gas, do you need more room behind the stove?
No, typically no, we don't see that. So the your quarter turn valve comes out of your wallet while it turns, and this just goes on right against the wall there. So the gas stove still fits flush against the wall there. Great question. We install over 100,000 of these every year across the U.S. We have install teams. So we do a lot of like communities. But so when we install it, we know that it's going to be, we make sure it's flush against the wall. Most of these people that are buying it on our website or Amazon or through one of our resellers, they install it themselves. So I want you everyone to know that this is something you can install on your own. It's very easy, and you'll be surprised that the stove is still flush against the wall.
Awesome. Oh, actually, one more. Okay, so I see Carol has a question that she's going to ask live. Actually, let me see if here we go. Okay, Carol, you should be able to speak now. You
There we
might.
go. We're good now, huh? We're good.
Yes. Yep. We can
First,
hear you.
I'll just start off with some good news for Peter and your company. I have four adult sons from 55 to 43 who all decided that mom needed a device. I'm almost 85. So they did their research and they all came up with this seems to be the one that's recommended the most. And they read everything about it. And one of my sons was a wildland fighter, and now he's with Nevada Department, and he's working on this helicopter. But he's a fire nut, and you know how that is. So he goes, "Yeah, we got to get this for mom." Okay. Now the question of who do I find to install it? Okay, because somewhere it read that it has to be A, up to code, B, it has to be a certain person certified to do this. If you ever had to sell your home, you have to prove that this thing was up to code. So when you said we, that assume is your company, install them, and I thought, well, how do we find one of the weeds?
So your question is, how do you find how can we come and install it for you?
Yes,
Great question. I'm just curious. Well, first of all, thank you, and I'm happy to hear about your four sons and that we share something in common. To him being a wildland firefighter, that's tough work. I was more of a structural firefighter, but wildland that's tough work. They're always hiking. Is your FireAvert installed right now?
is my what?
Is the FireAvert that they
No,
purchased
no,
for
no, no,
you?
no. It's in a box.
Oh, so it's not installed yet.
No, and my nephew, who's a contractor, according to his research, you have to have a smoke alarm before you put this thing in. And so I'm waiting for it to come from Amazon. Now, the one I ordered is a combo smoke and CO2. Is that okay, or should it just plain be a smoke alarm?
It'll work with the combos just fine. So that's great. You have a CO and a smoke alarm. It'll work just fine with that. It'll work with any smoke alarm that you already have in your home. So if you're getting a new one, that's great. If you wanted us to come install it, we typically don't do single family installs, but on our
Okay.
website, you could chat and ask if we have one of our technicians in your area. That has happened before, but any handyman can really install this. And the truth is, so if you have an electric stove, you don't need a permit or a code from the city. You can just pull your stove out, it's like plugging in a lamp
No,
and
we
plug
have
it in.
gas. I
You
have
have
a
a
gas.
gas stove. In most states, you can just do it without a permit. There is a few states like New York, Washington, Massachusetts that you
Just
might need.
California.
California. I'm not sure in California, but you might need a plumber to do it. So any handyman can come do it because they aren't touching the gas line there. But whatever
Okay,
you
I
feel
heard
comfortable.
plumber. I think of plumber, I think of water, but it's also they are gas guys, huh?
Correct. Great
Okay.
questions. Yeah.
All right, so that answers most of my questions. And oh, when I heard that the smoke alarm should be 15 feet from the kitchen, I
Yeah.
thought that was very interesting. I thought you're supposed to have it right there.
Great question. No, just because we don't want false alarms. We don't want every time you kind
Oh
of burn the
God,
bacon or
yes.
toast, we don't want it going off. So wherever your smoke alarm is located right now is where it should be.
Well, it was in the kitchen, and so and then it would start off all the other ones, and then everything would start going, and then you wave in the towel, and it was, and I never heard that it was okay and better to have it 15 feet away from the kitchen.
That's what they
Yeah.
recommend. Great question.
Okay.
Even
Well, they, is that you recommend?
the power is above perhaps, but even in my kitchen, I made pasta earlier and like the even I get concerned in my small kitchen about the smoke, and so I think that's, the distance away keeps it so that it's not going to capture those like in the moment cooking
Okay, that's a
occurrences.
good way to describe it. Yeah,
Yeah, and
I got
even
it. Well,
yeah,
that's really good news.
yeah. So
Then, okay. And I'm
definitely should be
hearing you
good.
say there should be a smoke alarm in every room.
Jen,
Correct.
you want to
Yes,
take that
there,
one,
there
and
should
then
be a
we'll move
smoke
on.
alarm in every bedroom. Every bedroom should have a smoke alarm.
Okay.
Perfect.
And one in the hall?
Correct. Hallway and bedroom.
Okay, that's good to know. I better get some more.
Yeah.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Well,
Thank you for listening and answering my question.
of
No
course. And
problem.
we'll also we'll open the floor at the end as well. So if you have any follow-up questions, we can answer them at the end as well. But awesome. Thank you, Carol. Peter, if you want to continue with the live demo, we should be
Yeah.
good to go.
Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here in our demo room here at FireAvert. See if I can stop sharing. We have Steven in here, and we're gonna do a live demo. It just takes just a minute, but he's gonna turn the stove on. I think you can see it. That's nice, hot and red, and he'll sound a smoke alarm. And no, remember, it has to have a 30-second delay of hearing the smoke alarm. So we'll let him do this now.
So yeah, perfect. This is the FireAvert demo kitchen. Hopefully you can hear me okay. As we can see, we've got some red hot burners going. I've got a smoke alarm here, so just so that we can do a little test, I'm gonna go ahead and sound it. It should be slightly annoying, like all good smoke alarms. And then after about 30 seconds, you'll see the stove kick off. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that demo now. So yeah, as you can see, the stove is now off. You might not be able to see this super good, but it's pretty hot over here. So I'm not going to bring the phone too close. We do have a little QR code right there that in say mom or dad's home or your home, you can go ahead and scan that to reset it. Alternatively, you will also be able to reset these. Given a text, we'd have to make sure that these knobs are back in the off position so that it is safe. And then you will get a text to your phone in which you can go ahead and reset your stove to make sure that everything's going back on and that it's not too much of an interruption while it is still keeping your home safe and protected.
Perfect. Thank you, Steven. So um, with that, he's right. You'll get a text. The nice thing here. Yep. And now look at this. The stove just turned back on because it realized the smoke alarm's on. Smoke alarm had stopped sounding, and the knobs were in the off position there, so it turned back on there. So that's one way, or you can do it via the smartphone there. So we have another one or two more slides here. I'm going to go back to share my screen here. Oh. So I think we already talked about it, but the FireAvert product works on all gas stove, electric stoves, microwaves, toaster ovens, whatever your loved one is using, it'll work on. The nice thing about the smart FireAvert prevention device is that we send real-time notifications out, and some of the notifications that we're going to send to your loved one and to you is that the stove is turned on. So you can get a notification that the stove turned on, and that's a great touch point to know that mom and dad are up, they're cooking breakfast, or they cooked dinner that night. You just get a notification the stove turned on. You also get a notification when the stove has been left on longer than 45 minutes. So if they forget about it, you get notified. So you can use the JubileeTV, right, and drop in on them or talk to them and say, hey, is your stove left on there? So both products accompany each other really well. You also get notified if the smoke alarm has been sounding over 90 seconds. Maybe it has nothing to do with the kitchen. Maybe it's sounding for whatever another reason, but you'll get notified when that happens. and of course, if the stove shuts off. So all real good notifications with that. And then just final, trying to wrap up here for you guys. I know we're about out of time, but we love Jubilee TV. When we heard about Jubilee TV, we bought one here for our office. Even here's my remote here. I love that it has the cover there so they can use just the buttons there. But I realize Jubilee TV is perfect for my parents there that are aging in place there. But we love FireAvert too, and both of them combined really add peace of mind for the care providers there, and also just I think if we can give our loved ones, even if it's just 6 months or maybe it's a couple years longer to be independent and living on their own, then we succeeded and we kept them safe. So we have a really special offer for all Jubilee customers. You can see the web link there, fireavert.com, products at Jubilee TV. You're going to get a 40% off our membership package. It's normally 60, so all Jubilee TV customers are going to get it for 36 per year. And it comes with the hardware and all the notifications. So again, Alex, thank you for this opportunity. We love working with you guys. You guys have an amazing product. So appreciate you bringing us in.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you again for speaking to our audience today, Peter, and Stephen. Thank you for the demo as well. It's funny, the spoon apron technique is actually something that I hadn't considered personally, but like it would be so simple for me just to keep the an extra spoon or the same spoon in my pocket, just not to forget because I'm a multitasker and I run, all around the apartment while I'm waiting for the water to boil, and so definitely would be something that even I would use, let alone my parents or my grandparents. And then to your point about the products working well together, it's kind of perfect, right? Where, fingers crossed it's not a full-on fire emergency, but if the FireAvert does alarm and go off, you could easily jump in on the Jubilee TV, start that one-way or two-way video call, and just make sure that mom or dad is okay. Um, the other thing I wanted to mention as well is for those who joined us late, I know a few folks did trickle in about 5 or 10 minutes in. We did record this webinar, and so I'll be uploading it to YouTube and following up via email with everyone with a link to the recording as well as this offer. So no worries if you showed up a few minutes late, or if you don't have a pen and paper to write this offer down, we'll be following up with that. But yeah, thank you again, Peter. Thank you again, Stephen. At this point, I'll open the floor again to see if anyone has any last second questions, follow-up questions. Otherwise, we'll call it a day. And same as before, you can either use the raise your hand tool. Excuse me. You can either raise your hand or you could leave a question in the Q&A chat. Oh, okay, I see there's a couple questions, so I'm just going to read these off in order. Our first question is from Dennis. He asked, will it work with a standard smoke detector audible? Will it also work if the CO detector is activated?
Great question. Yes, it will work with standard smoke alarm. So we're certified as a smoke alarm accessory with UL. So NFPA has a standard out there what the smoke alarm needs to sound like. So we recognize that audible smoke alarm sound. So we'll work with the smoke alarm you have. And yes, CO. So CO, if it is a CO problem, we can work with that as well. But I think sometimes people also ask the question is what about gas leaks if you have a gas stove? So on our website, we do sell a gas detector. So for those that don't know, CO is different than natural gas. So we have a natural gas detector that if that sounds, the gas stove will shut the solenoid off and prevent any gas leaks as well.
Perfect. The next question is from Nick. He asked, does it need to be professionally installed? I know you touched on this earlier, but it sounds like it could be either way.
Yeah. For electric stoves there, it does not need to be professionally installed. Just pull your stove out, you plug your stove right into FireAvert, FireAvert in the wall, installation's done. It's that simple. For the gas stoves, most people install on their own, but if you live in a state that requires a plumber or you just don't feel comfortable, hire a handyman and they can come and install it for you and take care of the gas install for you.
Perfect. And I would echo the same thing for Jubilee TV. It's funny. We do recommend that customers can self-install within 30 minutes, but if you're busy or don't have the time or you're worried about plugging the wrong thing in, the professional install is something we always recommend as well, because you can't go wrong with the professional doing it, right?
Correct.
But great, thank you. And then a follow-up question from Dennis. How is the gas model reset when activated? Is it a local reset? Is it a remote reset?
Great question. For the gas, on the gas stove there's a QR sticker on the stove. Scan that QR sticker with your smartphone. You can reset it. You also get a notification on your smartphone, and you can reset it from your smartphone. The only difference between the gas and electric is, as we showed during the demonstration there, that the electric stove automatically turned itself back on when the smoke alarm stopped. The gas does not do that. So that's the only difference, is it doesn't reset automatically. So recapping there, gas stove reset, scan the QR code, or you'll get a notification on your phone.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Peter. And the last question I can actually answer. It's a quick one. Nick had a follow-up, which was how long is this offer available for? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the offer should be good for the immediate future. No cutoff date currently, but specifically the way that you'll want to redeem this offer is it's not you don't need to enter a code. You can just go to this link that you see here on the page. So fireavert.com/products/JubileeTV. And when you use this specific link, it'll automatically apply the Jubilee TV discount, member discount, when you go to order FireAvert. And again, this will be in the follow-up email. So if you accidentally mistype it or write it down the wrong way, you don't have to worry. Cool. And then one more. Oh, Carol, I see your question. Your hand is raised, so I'm going to add you back as a speaker in a second. The YouTube link for this webinar will be in the follow-up email. I'm just going to mark that question that I see you asked, but then I'm also going to add you back as a speaker. Let's see. Perfect. You should be able to unmute and speak now if you have any additional questions. Yep, there you go.
No, that's nice to tell my kids. You didn't see. I thought you need to see it. Go to YouTube and watch it.
Yes. Yeah. So we'll, as long as you registered for the event
I
today
did.
with your name and email, which I believe was required,
Yes.
you'll receive the follow-up email from us with the YouTube link tomorrow. And so,
Thank you.
yeah, so it should be easy to just send their way, and it'll be good to go.
Okay. You did a good job, Alex.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. And obviously Peter was the real star today. So thank you again, Peter, for
Yeah.
Thank you, Carol.
Let's hear it for the firefighters in the world.
yeah.
Save all the
Appreciate it.
lives, especially
Thank you.
wildfires, California wildfires.
Absolutely.
They'll wipe out a city, very quickly.
Yeah. But yeah, on that high note, I mean, obviously, again, great work. I started to clap there, and I realized it was only me with the audio on, so I realized maybe
But
we
we
shouldn't
would
do that.
see you.
Yeah. But yeah, with that, I think that is everyone. So thank you guys again for joining us. Carol and everyone else will be following up with the email with the discount as well as the YouTube link to rewatch or send to other family members. But again, thank you, Peter, so much for this presentation today. We really appreciate both your service as a firefighter and the work that you are now doing to kind of spread that message with FireAvert. And thank you again to Stephen, who was the voice and the hands behind the demo that you guys saw a little earlier today as well. So yeah, thank you guys again, and have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Okay. Well done.
Thank you, Alex. Thanks, Jubilee TV.
Thanks,
Of course.
everyone.
Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Bye.
Take care.